CFL draft coming up in a couple days. No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, May 2nd.
Who do you think will go number one? Who do you think should go number one to Ottawa? Who should Ottawa pick number one?
They should probably go O-line or D-line. There's a lot of good guys out there, but I keep seeing this guy, receiver Jared Wayne. And yes, he ended up signing a free agent contract with Houston Texans. So who knows what happens there. But just looking at his stats and some highlights of this kid, man, he looked pretty good. And maybe you don't get him now, but maybe you get him, next year or the year after or something like that. I think that'd be a pretty good move.
Yeah. No, he's a phenomenal receiver. And who knows if he'll be able to stick with the team. But I will go, me, I like the O-line and the D-line, and I'm going to go with Dante Bull from Fresno State. A great athlete, a huge presence at 6'7", 320. Kid played basketball, so he has some good feet. I don't think he'd be, you'd watch Trevor Harris's back from day one. He'd be slowly incorporated into the O-line, but he's one of those pillar Canadian offensive linemen at tackle that you can have for years. So I'd be disappointed if Ottawa did not pick him.
I actually have him down here too. He was my other guy. I was going back and forth between the two guys. You said he'd be blocking for Trevor Harris though. So
sorry. Trevor Harris. He used to play for Ottawa a long time. Mazzoli. I got Trevor Harris on the mind. Oh my goodness. Probably because I think Saskatchewan should draft an O-lineman because they need one badly. He's in Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
There we go. Now we're all back on track.
Hopefully they'll go kicker.
Who would you like to see? Hey, it's a CFL draft. Who knows? That might be a very good choice. See Winnipeg's kicking situation last year. Who would you like to see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers draft?
Yeah, and going back to, like you said, O-line, D-line, I want them to go that way. And that's usually the way they go, right? 7 first rounders, they have 7 first rounders, 11 second rounders, 7 were used on O-linemen, 3 on D-linemen. I'm going to go with the D-line on this one. There's a kid named Lake Court Moore, 48 tackles, 12 and a half tackles for a loss, 6 sacks, 3 knockdowns, and a forced fumble for him last season. So he looks like a pretty good force. And I know there's a couple other D linemen there that are probably better than him or coming out better than him, but their chances are they're gone before they get to the Bombers. Yeah,
he would be a good player for the Bombers to take. And he has a great mentor in Jake Thomas, someone who came, was it Acadia?
Yeah.
He came out of the East Coast, was a special teamer, and then he slowly made his way into the regular rotation on the D-line. That's something that we could see. And I also like to see maybe a guy like Cole Tucker, a receiver that perhaps from Northern Illinois might fall down to the Bombers. Decent size at 6'2", could be a great possession receiver. I always like to see Canadians on the receiving corps, but he just recently got an invitation to Vikings camp. So who knows? But I think at the Bombers at 9, might as well 8 or 9.
8.
8. They might as well take the best player available.
Yeah,
unless there's someone for sure who's a day one starter. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there's a couple of linemen too that are pretty strong up there that they'll have a chance if any of these guys are gone. So they got a lot of options and choices.
CFL draft, first 2 rounds available on TSN. Thanks TSN for broadcasting something.
Wow, they're actually airing it. Woo!
We love you, TSN. Milt's the best thing going on that broadcast. We're going to go on with our online specials of best players, best here, best starters. We're going for the kind of starting defense for the Western Division, top 4 defensive players. Only rules being you have to have 1 D lineman, 1 linebacker, 1 DB, and then you add another player from whatever position you want. So I'll start off. I'll pick a D lineman, and I'll go with Doug Brown. 7-time CFL All-Star, 2001 Most Outstanding Canadian, and he was like the only or the second defensive tackle to win Most Outstanding Canadian in CFL history. So I'm going with Doug Brown.
I'll start D line too. Then I guess I'll go John Helton, CFL All-Star 10 times, 14 years of play at defensive tackle, a long time. This is back early 80s, late 70s, right? Plus he ended up in the CFL Hall of Fame, inducted into Alberta Sports Hall of Fame. You know what? He just had a pretty, and I don't know a lot about him because I was just looking him up today and I was just reading more and more about him. Sounded like an awesome player and had a pretty good career.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Doug Brown I had to go with because I needed a Canadian in there. I had to go off with a Canadian right away. I don't know. I know some people don't like the ratio, so that's for you. You go next. Who else you got on that team?
Let's go linebacker. Let's move that way. I'm going with Willie Pless at linebacker. Again, CFL All-Star 11 times. Most outstanding defensive player 5 times. Won a Grey Cup. Over 1,200 tackles, 84 sacks, 39 interceptions. So for me, that's dominant play at the linebacker position.
I also have Willie Pless. Most tackles in CFL history, over 1,200. And out of those 5 Defensive Player of the Year, he won 4 in a row. From 94 to 97. That's like Doug Flutie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's Doug Flutie kind of noise. So I also have Willie Pless. I also took another defensive lineman. I have James Quick Parker. In the Western Division, he's one of the best sack masters that there is. 139 and a half sacks. Had his best years with the BC Lions, especially a lot against the Blue Bombers in the mid-'80s. He was just a beast. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he still holds the record of most sacks in a season in Edmonton with 18 and a half. So I got James Quick Parker. Who do you got next?
I'm going to stick with the linebacker position then, because I was trying to decide between Pless and this guy. I'm going to go with Dan Kepley. You know what? 8 Grey Cup titles with Edmonton, player, coach as well. 3-time most outstanding defensive player award. So just, and in between Dale Porter and Tom Towns, they were combined. They were a force at the linebacker position for the Eskimos. I guess they were still called the Eskimos back then. So
they were.
Yes. So I'm going to pick him as my extra guy here.
Dan Kepley. That's a pretty good one. It's hard to argue against any of these. My last one, I'm taking a DB. I'm going to go with Les Brown. He leads pro football, not just CFL, professional football in interceptions with 87. He has a team records for Western teams, the Winnipeg in 14, although he was in the East when he played for Winnipeg, but we know the W stands for West and winning. And he also has a record for BC with 11. So I'm going to go with Les Brown.
Yeah, I agree. I got Les Brown here as well on my list, and it was hard to go against those numbers that he had. What a career.
Yeah.
Not much else I can say. He was dominant.
Like what do people want us to do? Consider the Bombers for the East and the West? Then we'd be charged with having Bombers and being homers on both teams, because we are part of a dominant franchise that have won a lot of Grey Cups and consistently lately. Just saying. Yeah,
we could have picked Milt then for wide receivers on both the East and West, right?
And he would win, and you couldn't argue.
Exactly. You couldn't.
CFL fans, put your best of the West defensive players in there. Give us a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a DB, and whatever of your choice. You don't have to throw Canadian in there, but if you could, that'd be great. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.